one thing we didn't get to ask you about yesterday was your plan at safety. What is the plan at safety that you're always on?
It's in development. Like I mentioned the other day, the free agency process is still ongoing, and our draft prep is going well. And so we're going to add to that bunch, certainly, by what means is to be determined. But there's some credible candidates out there in both pools.
Mike, is KZ a strong safety candidate, or is he strictly free? I know he can play.
Strong and free are kind of, misnomers these days. Most guys play right and left, and those that don't, they're somewhat interchangeable based on schematics or calls. And I just think that's where we are. Minka patrols the middle of the field and as a home base, and we work off of that.
Can Patrick do some of that stuff too?
He's versatile. He is, not only in terms of his talents, but his intellect, and we're not going to be bashful about moving him around. He and I have already had that discussion, and I think he's really excited about the prospects of that.
What did Casey show you just in the few games that he was able to play that made him a priority in free agency?
He's got ball production. He brings an energy and enthusiasm that's infectious, that's good for teams, not only in stadium, but day to day. He has a Steeler spirit that we value.
Like with Minka, you think more so than even last year, move him around this year?
I just think that's going to be continual as long as he's a part of us. It's our job to put him in position to be impactful, to wreak havoc, to do the things that he's blessed to have the talents to do. And so he's a smart guy, and those that work with him are versatile, and so that allows us an opportunity to do those things. I can't imagine that decreasing.
Mike, during Terrell's introductory press conference, he spoke very highly of his time. Would you how would you describe him as a person and player? What Philly's got?
Football lover, just highly available, very durable, tough. We had a good experience together, and I wish him nothing but the best.
Like, what is Detroit getting in Cam Sutton kind of player?
First of all, I always hesitate because the first thing I think about is his above the net game, his maturity, and his preparation. But in stating that first, you almost are disrespectful to his talents. He's a talented guy, but beyond that, I think the things that are his calling card are his intellect and his prep. His communication skills. I just think it allows him to be versatile. He does a good job of getting people around him on the same page, and I would imagine that those are skill sets that are going to travel.
Going back to a quick follow-up, going back to Terrell, is there a moment or a story that you can remember, like when you first came to the league and you saw him?
I got a bunch of them, but I ain't going to do that in this setting. Yep.
Diontae, how do you evaluate his 2022, and do you think there's no touchdowns mess with him at all, Mike Tomlin?
I'd imagine, fielding questions about it repeatedly gets tiresome. He's a competitor. He wants to be a significant part of the reason why we're successful. But that's in his rear view. He and I, communicated maybe yesterday. His workouts are going great. His leadership among those in his position group is going great. We're excited about the prospects of 2023 and being better.
Learning as a new quarterback, having a new quarterback, that's something to do. I mean, you're learning a whole new guy on the fly. Is that part of it?
We don't make excuses.
Is there any explanation for that? I mean, that was a productive touchdown guy, and to have none. Is there any explanation?
It's probably a reflection of us and where we were, but I've been pretty transparent about that. We're very much a unit and a squad in development a year ago. We don't apologize for that. We did what we had to do to make ourselves competitive and particularly down the stretch, put ourselves in position to win. And, it provides a platform for us to grow from, and those are our intentions. And so, last year is last year as far as we're concerned in terms of some of these discussions.
The numbers might not have been, what he wanted, obviously, but where did you see Diontae going to show the most growth?
Again, I'm kind of done with last year, guys. It's March. You know what I mean? Late March.
Mike, you kind of touched on this a little bit yesterday. When you're building your team, you look at trying to get out of your division first, you have to be most cognizant of the other teams in your division as opposed to maybe the rest of the league?
I think in any discussion, divisional play is major. It's just how we're structured as a league. If you're going to dominate anything, you got to first start in your neighborhood, and that neighborhood is the AFC North. And got a lot of respect for that, and I think all of us, whether you're in the North or not, probably have that perspective because of the familiarity and particularly in the ways that scheduling is done and has been done in recent years, man. There's some weighty division games, man, down the stretch, it seems, that are significant. And, boy, you better be in position to win those games if you want to be a team on the rise at the latter part of the regular season, for example.
It's been a division with really strong quarterback play across the board. Lamar requested a trade this morning. How much can that change just the scope of the division when you're preparing?
I have zero perspective on what's going on with Lamar.
You talked about the coaching fraternity quite a bit, and bringing on Aaron Curry, the increased roles for Brady Brown and Denzel Martin, Coach Flores moving on. He just talked about how much pride you take in the interchange that goes on between teams, but also helping guys continue their growth.
I just think it's part of the coaching vocation. When you're in a position of leadership, you're responsible for the growth and development of those that work with you and be a part of their story. I've been fortunate enough to receive assistance from quality guys that nurtured my growth and development. Tony Dungy, John Gruden, Rod Marinelli, others, Monty Kiffin, and so I try to be that for those that I work with, to challenge them, but also to support them and to provide them opportunities to grow, to not have them in a box, to acknowledge that we're all very much in development, players and coaches, and you have to give them an opportunity to put that development on display. And so I'm excited about the growth within our staff, the expanded roles of some of the individuals that you mentioned, but also I expect it's needed because if we want to continually move forward, that's a component of it as well. We tell our players all the time they're either getting better or getting worse, and it's the same for us. And so we have to have a high level of urgency, particularly this time of year when you have an opportunity to step back from the day-to-day rigors of in-season schedule and look at aspects of play and aspects of teaching and analyze it and pick it apart and in an effort to move forward.
Mike, you have one of the smaller coaching staffs in the league. How do you go about deciding, hey, maybe an extra person here would help, or maybe another voice would just be a detriment, that kind of thing?
I'd rather overwork them than underwork them. You know what I mean? I just think it's benefit in small numbers. It's easier to keep the group coordinated and on one accord, to have that one voice that is critical in culture building. So small is better for me, but you better have enough to get the job done. And I realize that we're probably on the smaller side as far as staffing goes, but that's the agenda for us.
Mike, I covered the Commanders for ESPN, so I want to ask about Eric Bieniemy. You were on the same staff with him in Minnesota. I'm curious what you saw in him as a coach back then. All sorts of stories about how demanding he was.
Man, my feelings about Eric are highly documented, man. He's a superstar coach. He's demanding, he's detailed, he's passionate about ball. All of that will be displayed in D.C.
And then last year, you guys were looking at quarterback to the draft. Curious what your evaluation of Sam Howell was, what you thought of him.
He's not a Steeler. I'm not getting into that.
Coach Tomlin, what charities and causes are you passionate about?
Anything involving the youth or education. I just think my wife and I dropped that stake down years ago when we were kind of given this platform that there are a lot of things that you would like to be involved in, and you can't be involved in everything, but things involving young people and their growth and development, and particularly their education, has our attention.
Is there any one point where you realized Alex Smith was that guy?
Who's that?
Alex Smith.
I don't think any part of his growth and development has been surprising to any of us. We were extremely high on him and happy to have him when we got him in the third round out of Charlotte. He was productive there. He was a guy continually on the rise over the course of his career there. after having met him and seen the quality of young man that he is in terms of what he's willing to do, I think what you're seeing is just the natural progression and the growth and development of a quality player. And I think it's reasonable to expect that to continue.
You've identified Najee as a guy that is a leader in this organization on the offense. Where is he in terms of kind of taking on that role? I know he stepped into a very vocal one last year. Where is he now?
Najee has identified Najee as a leader, and I agree with him. You gotta have shoulders for that. You gotta have an appetite for that, and he does. He's a team guy. Winning is the utmost priority to him, and it's displayed in everything that he does and how he conducts himself and how he communicates, and so that's easy to support.
How much does he help a young guy like Jalen Warren, especially in an off season, kind of getting his feet under him and what you do to be ready?
I probably am not aware of the intimate details of some of that, and probably wouldn't do a good job of doing it justice at this juncture.
When you evaluate prospects, how important is it to find that guy that loves the game as much as talent?
That's why Omar and myself, we travel as much as we do this time of year, pro days and so forth, Senior Bowl, Combine. I know some of those things are less in vogue now by our peers, but we're just really interested in the things that you can't see on tape. And those are the intangible quality, the relationship things, the things that really make teams go. And so we're pretty intentional about unearthing as much information in those areas as we can.
What is your favorite part of draft prep when you're out evaluating guys?
I love it all, to be honest with you. I think it probably starts with the tape. It has to. My preference is to be familiar with someone on tape before I'm familiar with them. And so the tape's important. The tape's all our calling cards. The tape is the player's calling card individually and collectively. It's our calling cards as coaches individually and collectively. We better have a mindset that's geared toward the tape and what's on it.
Mike, if you don't like the tape, I'm guessing you won't be talking to the person.
I may. Because you guys might be tracking my movements.
How much has your process changed over the years? You've done it a long time. I mean, are you still?
I've honed it. It's become more efficient, but it's also, become more intentional and thoughtful. Gamesmanship, if you will, along some of the discussions that we're having here and laughing about. But also very true. It's just important that we safeguard our intentions and our critical, sensitive information in an effort to, protect our ability to put together what it is we desire to put together.
Cam's going to be 34 here. Any slowdown? Well, how do you explain a guy who plays in the trenches for a dozen years do what he does?
I often tell Cam he's seen more good days professionally than he's going to see. He doesn't like that reality, but I say it, twofold. I just want us to feel the urgency of now. The benefit of having worked with that guy for over a decade, I don't take for granted. And there needs to be urgency there, but also just to challenge him continually because we all need it. He needs it. He craves it. He loves to defy the odds, and I'm a supporter of that.
You talked about the nose tackle position and how sort of it's fallen out of favor league-wide. We talked yesterday about running being up. Do you feel like that's something that could change using the nose as more?
Not necessarily so. Run or pass, the nose's participation is not run or pass oriented. It's usually personnel oriented, and people have been running out of 3 receiver sets, and so just because there's an uptick in the run game, whether it's total yards or yards per, doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to be doing so out of base personnel groups, which produce opportunities for noses.
Mike, you said Cam likes to defy the odds. How often or how frequently do you prod him or poke him to get him to keep doing it?
Probably just about every interaction that we have. It's just kind of the nature of our relationship, man, we're like an old married couple. We've been together for some time, and we still together.
So you know the buttons.
And he does mine as well. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that. Cam is capable of, throwing a few blows of his own.
Last time, is Freiermuth okay?
Yeah, he's fine.
How important is he to this passing game? We haven't talked about much.
His growth and development is significant. It's reasonable to expect him to continue to grow and have a more increasingly significant role in what we do. It's very much like the Alex Highsmith discussion. I don't think that any of us are going to be surprised about the positive things that he does, and there's an expectation from us that his progress continues.
By coincidence, I guess the Raiders and Ravens game from that last drive, he came up with big plays.
I think it's reasonable to expect more of that as he continues to gain a footing and an understanding and becomes more central in terms of what we do.
Is there anything about Kenny's game that you wanted him to work on this offseason, or anything specific that you're looking forward to improvement with?
I'm sure that there's a lot, the totality of it. You're talking about year 1 to year 2, so there's a lot of meat on the bone, and usually in all areas. We'll get more specific when we get back together formally and begin the process of the offseason. Right now, I just think his leadership, it's communicating informally with his teammates and organizing work that's productive for all parties involved, and he's done a nice job of that. But there's some get better in the midst of that, just from a leadership perspective, the things that kind of come with being him and come with the quarterback position.
Mike, what has been the committee's discussion on the roughing the passer penalty, and where do you think that is?
We looked at a lot of it. We analyzed it because it is a hot button topic. There's a lot of emotions when those flags fall on the ground, because usually it's a significant play and often occurs in significant moments. But, based on the analysis of what we saw, man, I respect the level of officiating that the play was given. And sometimes our reactions are just that emotional.
One of the proposals that seems to have a lot of support is changing the cut down to ones instead of the gradual step. What do you like about, or don't like about those two options there?
I don't care, to be honest with you. I've done it a lot of ways over the years, and wherever we landed, I'll be fine with.
What do you like about being on the competition committee?
I just like being a part of the process. I'm not one to sit on the sidelines and complain. If there's work to be done, I'd like to be in the midst of it, and I just think being on the committee has afforded me an opportunity to do that and to help and to safeguard the game that's been great to all of us and that we all care about.
Of all the different rules that the competition committee has proposed, the rule changes, the bylaw changes, is there one that you're really passionate about, or is it just a crowd?
I don't know if there's any particular rule that I'm passionate about, but I'm passionate and highly sensitive to the things regarding player safety and improving the game in that way. As I mentioned, as a lover and appreciator of the game, as someone who has benefited from the game in terms of my involvement, I think that we all got an obligation to safeguard its future and the future of those that play it. And player safety is at the forefront of that. As a parent who has two guys that play this game, it's also awesome to be a part of it in that way.
You said that, Omar's traveled with him for, extensively last year, obviously this year, but are you getting in routines with him the way that you had with Kevin? Places you guys like to go to eat, Omar likes pizza, things like that. You guys establishing any of that?
Kevin and I did it for 15 and 16 years, and so although Omar and I are laying down a good foundation, man, that type of continuity there's no shortcuts to it, and so we respect the developmental process relationship-wise, and we got our sleeves rolled up and having a great deal of fun in doing so. But I respect and appreciate the relationship that I had with Kevin and how it was built, and it was built through hard work over, an extended period of time and not caring who gets the credit. And that's what I like about the foundation of the relationship that Omar and I have at this point, and it's built on those same foundational things, and so it's exciting.
So Omar a sweet tea guy too? Or?
Oh yeah, Omar likes to eat, man. He's a New Orleans boy. So yeah, we're having a good time.
About being a father, it's going to be like having Dino go through the draft process next year.
Man, he's got spring ball in the season first, man. You know, he got some plays to be made before something like that is even a consideration.